Hello goat lovers, Crystal here with Blue Cactus Dairy Goats, and today I'm going to show you how we wax our hard cheeses. So a lot of you actually ask, how do you wax the cheese? And I have shown it in some older videos, but haven't really made its own video out of it. So I'll just show you guys how we do it. But before I do that, I do have two new cheddars that I've recently tried. And this is the cheddar that I posted just a few weeks back. It's a farmhouse cheddar. So I did learn something on this. This cheese, even though I had a little bit of a different technique, tried to make the curds a little bigger, didn't let the curds get as dried out and so forth, it's probably still going to be that drier cheddar that is, again, called like a farmhouse cheddar. It, of course, deserves its own praise. It's a delicious, delicious cheese, but it's just not that creamy, meltable cheddar that I've been trying to achieve. So we'll see. I have a little while before I'm going to open this up. I'll open it when it's 2 months aged and just see if there was a difference. But the other two cheeses were cheddars, and it was a different technique I used, a little bit of a different recipe, so I'll show you those. Okay, so I did another double batch. These were done 5 days ago. They've been just drying out. And you want to just watch them, and you flip them frequently. They're sitting on a drying rack as well as one of these plastic mats here. You don't want to set them on metal because then it'll discolor, it's going to discolor your cheese. And it doesn't hurt it, but it's not as pretty. So anyway, this cheddar is extremely springy. Now I've made enough cheeses that I can tell in the curds the consistency of what the cheese might turn out to be. So I'm really, really actually happy with this technique. So I didn't put it on video, I didn't video this one, but I'll probably have to make a video for you guys just to see. Once we break it open and see if it actually does what I want it to do, if it works, we'll do a video on it. So anyway, to the waxing. When I started out, I got a little kit, and it came with this jar and just a little chunk of wax. And then you just put the wax in here, and then you put this in a pot of boiling water so that it melts, and then you have this brush. And you just kind of brush it on the cheese. So when you do that, kind of that technique with that, if you guys can see how it ends up looking, just kind of choppy, which is fine. It's not going to hurt the cheese or anything, but I like it to be a little prettier. So I wanted, instead of using this, I saw a technique done that if you melt it in a pot, and this is just of course a really old pot that I wouldn't cook in, and then after you're done using it, you just leave it there. And it hardens up, you put some foil on it and keep it, and next time you need it, you put the pot on there and melt the wax. So the technique I saw was actually dipping it, and then you let it dry, and then you dip it, and then you do the sides. Well, my cheese isn't thick enough to do that. It actually just kind of falls in my hands. I can't do it. So I still have to wax the top, but then I'm going to go through and turn the edges. And because it's over this pot that I'm doing it, and I can do it so much quicker than with that little pan, this one, if you guys can see, the wax just turns out a lot smoother, a lot prettier. So I like it better. And it seems to go a lot quicker for me as well. So that's what we're going to do. You get your foil, because this will ruin your counter, or it's just a pain in the butt to clean off. And actually put it all the way over the stove here, because there's going to be a lot of drips. Get your wax melted. You want to watch it really, really well. Don't get it steaming or anything, because if you do, it could light in flames. So you want to be careful with the wax, getting it too hot. You also want it hot enough to potentially kill any germs or anything that might be on the outside of the cheese. And if you, while you're drying your cheese out, if you happen to see any little tiny mold, spores forming or anything, it's really easy. Don't throw it away. It's not trash. You just get vinegar and water, and you're just going to clean it off with a cloth. Super easy. Alright, so first step, just kind of hold it sideways over this pan. Get your little brush And you're shooting for kind of long strokes. You gotta kind of move quick because it starts drying on it really fast. Smooth, long strokes. So I'm just gonna give it a couple coats, and then I will work on the other one. Get down on the edges there. Okay. Now we're just going to let that one dry. Scooch it out of the way. Do the next. It's not a bad idea to have gloves on either, the little rubber gloves. It's splashing on me. My hands are pretty strong, but it's hot. Okay. And again. You want a really thick coat. And I'll continue with it until, if you guys can see it, see like right here where it's super thick, you can only see the red, but I can see white through that wax. I'm going to continue until I can no longer see the white. I happen to be pretty messy with it. Okay, so I'm going to let this one dry, the both of them, because now I want to make sure they're good and dry enough. Again, it happens pretty quickly, but make sure they're dry enough because I'm going to flip it over and do the other side, and it's going to be on your hand. So, we're going to wait a couple minutes. I don't know if you guys can hear those goats outside. It's the wethers, because wethers are kind of obnoxious and demanding, like a teenage boy or something. But they know in about 30 minutes it's feeding time, so I'm trying to get this done before we have to go chore for the evening. Let's see. Okay. Do the other side. Now at this point, it's slippery, so be careful. Don't really have as good a grip. Okay. So I got a big glob of it on the brush. Like if you see that, you guys, when I'm painting over these edges where the cheesecloth was, it's not just as smooth as the rest of the cheese. Make sure you get in all those little holes and crevices. This one has more than the last. It doesn't help that it's a cloudy day. We're still not getting any no darn rain, but it's cloudy, so they think it's later than it is. Darn goats. They're pretty demanding animals. Alright, that's good for that one. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to let that dry, and of course I'm going to do another coat on each side, and then we're going to do we're gonna twist it in here for these edges here. All right. Okay, we're gonna do this one more time. The thicker it gets, the harder it is to keep it smooth, but still smoother than the first method. So now I'm going to do the sides. And get my little brush out of the way. Just kind of slowly. Don't keep it in there too long or it's going to melt the wax on the edges. Okay, so I'm going to hold it a bit because it gets some of the edges there, which is good because that means it's going to seal in those edges really well also. But as you can see, it's going to need another coat. I can see white through it. Alright, let's go for another round. Oop. And there, I got it all over my hand. It dries really quick, so just hold it for maybe just a minute before you lay it down to do the other. That way this isn't going to come off and stick to the foil and be all for naught. All the driplets on the side will just melt down once you're in here, so don't worry about those. At first you feel them sticking. Once they get hot enough and melt, kind of smooths them out. There we go. It's actually really fun playing with wax. It's not fun to clean. But it is kind of cool. I don't know if you guys remember going to like the fairs or the carnivals and you stick your hand in the wax and they make your hand. Cool. Alright, round two. Looks good. See how it got all smoothed out? Alright, so I'm going to let this sit for a minute while I do the last brushing on each side of these cheeses. I do it one more time on each side of the top because there's a lip right here from where we were in there. It's not separated, but I just want to make sure to seal that over one more time. like a really, really thick coat. The reason being, the first cheese or two that I did, I didn't realize this, it would still leak some of the greases from the cheese, just naturally. And when it does that, I just have to keep like re-waxing those little spots and so forth. But I found if you do it a lot thicker, you don't really run into that. If you do run into it, just kind of pop that bubble and you just re-wax it. So it's really not too big of a deal. But it's extra work that hopefully you don't have to do. There we go. Now the thicker it gets, the longer it kind of has to need in between each drying, but I'm going to let that guy sit for just a second before I grab the other side. Alright, last time for this one, and I like to go back too because I did 2 coats, but you can still see it lightly coming through the white. So I want to make sure it's good and dark and thick. Done. Alright, that one's got like a little bit of white coming through too. I'm gonna get it good and thick. Last coat and we are done. This wax is cooling off. If it starts cooling off, it gets really thick. So, good thing I'm almost done. If I had to go any more, I would probably have to warm it up again. Alright, feel good about that. Alright, good deal. 2 more cheeses, you guys, and I'm feeling really good about the cheese. This is technically the recipe. It was called a stirred curd cheddar, where I just kind of cooked the curds in a different manner, put them in a hot water bath for 100 degrees in the sink, and stirred them kind of frequently, but not often, or not the whole time, after they were salted, and just kept them at that 100 degrees for an extended period of time. So that was the extra step with this that did absolutely change the curd. So excited to try this cheddar. It might be the melter. You never know. As far as the wax is concerned, we buy it on Amazon. It is red cheese wax, and it comes in just these little blocks. And of course, half of it's hollow, which I love. Love that. I'd like the whole thing. But anyway, it's £1, so you can buy them at £1. I have searched far and wide for blue cheese wax, but apparently I don't think they make blue cheese wax. I would love blue cheese wax, but they make every other color, including black. So, oh well. So anyway, we got with the red. So, hope that helped you guys out if you haven't waxed a cheese, or even for those of you who are just interested on how it works. So that's how we wax. So we're going to have 2 more cheeses to put in the cave, and thank you guys so much for watching. See you again soon.